Hi Prêt-à-Template designers, let's take a look at the jewelry section. It's new. Here you can find necklaces, gems, rings, earrings, and bracelet templates. You can switch them using these small icons at the bottom. Together there's 80 different templates and there's so much possibilities to design different pieces for your accessory line or your jewelry line. So as you see, there's so many different styles. Here are the necklaces, and there are gems to be designed separately. There are earrings. There's another videos where you can find the way to design earrings, ring, and necklace. And here's the bracelet template. This is a round opened cuff, and I want to show you that you can actually use these sliders to remove and manipulate different parts of the template to only keep the views that you like. And I'm going to use these two views for my illustration and keep the space in the middle for specifications of my future jewelry piece. So I'm starting on the first layer, and let's zoom in. The main focus of this illustration is going to be how to show different gold colors, and I am adding this picture as a pin to my screen, and then by pressing this little icon I'm gonna have it on my background. I'm gonna press accept and just use it as my reference. So it's basically just a different colors of gold. So first I'm going to get the colors that I want, and so I took the pinned picture and I'm dragging it directly to the palette until I see this little green plus. So the colors has been successfully extracted to my palette, and I can start using them. I'm adding one more layer, and I will take this flat marker to fill in the entire surface of the bracelet. So actually I've changed to this round marker because it's completely covering the surface with color. So that would be my first layer, and I'm selecting this color to start rendering yellow gold. So the first step is easy. I'm just going to have to fill in with color the entire piece. So you can as well trace the template if you want to. I'm not going to do that, just to save time and show the rendering process. Oh, there's one important thing I forgot. You can actually use a color fill tool to color this bracelet really quickly. So you just take that custom color icon and tap on it and hold it, and you can basically, so that's what I'm doing. I'm color picking this color, and I did this, like I just drag that color to fill the entire piece with it. It's super easy. So not only you can change color of objects like that, you can also color fill the object, but the only thing that is important is that it has to have a strong outline so that it can recognize the borders. So since I'm using the template, I can always count on color filling it properly, and it can recognize the border really well. So now I'm gonna take a lighter color and add light. So suppose the light is coming from the top left corner. All the parts of the top left are going to receive most light. This isn't really hard if you think of a object as a 3D piece, and just imagine how different facets or like sides of the piece would behave if there's like just a single source of light. Because on the photos, of course, it's very it can look intimidating and difficult rendering gold, because usually it's been lit with different sources of light, and so there's like so many reflections and you're just like getting lost in thinking how to recreate it. But the good way is just to imagine a single source of light and to color it this way is just much easier. So all the light is going to be from the left side, and then there are dark parts from the right side. So not only I'm switching between the colors on my palette, I'm also using this toggle to get the different values of the same color. So another good advice regarding the gold color is probably to not use the very saturated yellows or like pinks for rendering gold, because it's going to look too illustrative. I don't know, it's going to look artificial. So to make it look more real, you probably want to use more of a muted colors like this. You can see I'm using these shades that are almost like ochre or brownish sorry, like brownish muted colors. This is the best way to do it. If you want to add some brighter yellow, you can just do a few spots of really bright yellow, but not like the entire piece. This is going to look more real if you avoid that. So now I'm trying to add shadows and like cleaning this edge. Obviously the part inside the bracelet is going to be in the shadow, so I have to start adding that shadow over there. Another thing to consider is the geometry of the piece. If you have something with the flowing lines like this bracelet, it's basically just all curved, there's no ribs. The pattern of shadow and light is going to be also without any harsh edges, is going to be also flowing the same way. And a good way to think about it is that shadows would behave almost in a fluid kind of patterns. I'm going to show later when I add the darkest shadows, but they all going to like flow along the surface. So that would add this feeling of fluidity of the piece. So I'm joining right now this straight line into the side line of shadow to show that it's the way the shadow basically behaves on the surface. If I'm going to add a very strong rib, I'm just going to indicate that the surface is straight, it doesn't have any curviness to it. One more thing to consider is how many colors to use while rendering gold. So really you don't need too many colors or too many like shades and values of those colors. You can probably get away with 3 or 4, and there's no need to make it so colorful. It's basically just one color, which was the first color I've applied to the entire surface. That's my local color. Then I used variations of that same color in lighter versions. So basically I just dragged the toggle on that same color using the lighter value. I'm going to go as light as white on the highlights, and then I have maybe 1 or 2 darker colors just to add shadows, and that's it. I don't use too many variations or like different colors. It's just basically one color with lights and shadows made of that color. and I'm pretty happy with the way it is. I will take an eraser and now I will get rid of the color that is out of the border. So basically the coloring was separate layer from the first local color that I've color dropped, and I'm still on the same layer to erase this strokes that went over the border, and I'm not affecting my local color this way. Now that it's done, I can merge by pressing this icon with the arrow pointing downwards, and I have merged these two layers into one. Another option to consider is using a smudge tool. You have to be very conscious of the way you're using it and the amount of this tool application, because it can diffuse the edges if you want to make them smooth, but at the same time it can distort the pattern of light and shadow that you have done before. So one of the things to know is that you have to follow the lines of your light and shadow pattern. So just move it across those lines like I do. Follow them. If you want to dilute these edges too much, you have to stay on the same place for a longer time, like I did on this little part. But I think this is a tool to be careful with, and sometimes I even overdo it, and I feel like I have to take it down a notch. So here I've decided to add a much darker shadows. Just looking at the references that I've pulled, and I saw that maybe I'm lacking a bit of those extra dark touches of color. So I'm placing them in the middle of my darkest shadows, because I want the transitions to be gradual, not like a zebra just alternating light and dark, but like the darkest darks are within the dark areas and the whites are within the light areas. So it's smooth, like transitions between light and shadow. Moving on the new layer to coloring the white gold or silver, and it would be pretty much the same color. You can use colors closer to the alloy that you are trying to depict. Sometimes gold can have the greenish color because white gold might have that look, but it's up to you. So I'm using this very neutral gray, doesn't have any much color in it, so it's kind of a cool toned gray color. It probably looks more like a silver. So I'm pretty much following the same pattern. I've already established some light parts on the left side and some darker parts on the right side, and I'm going to use same exact technique. So this is pretty much it. I can get rid of the picture in the middle using eraser. Now all my layers are merged into one. And delete the pin. I can still add a few touches if I feel like it, maybe a couple of thin highlights. And a last thing to consider is perhaps adding a color for the hand. I'm gonna drag the new layer under and try to use watercolor brush and pick a color. I will need something very light in order to make it appear transparent, and start adding like a light suggestion of color. I don't want it to be overpowering and like a drawing of a hand actually, but just a light suggestion. Maybe your illustration requires a more realistic look on how it will look on a hand, and you decide to do that. This is one way to do it. It's just a very light touch of color on the hand is going to be nice. One feature is new to take a look at is sharing directly from the canvas. It's on the top right corner. You can share JPEG, PDF project file. And thank you for watching this video. Please like it and subscribe to this channel.